I can't believe that you came into my life. You made me feel again, now it's my turn. You say you've always been a little bit shy, but I can put an end to your fears. Let me show you a place where you gon' wanna move your feet until they start to bleed. DJ, take it away. Tonight is all for you and me. So baby, spin and let the music begin. I know you feel it within, so go ahead and just spin. Yeah, spin for me. Won't you spin? Don't let the doubt in you win. I know you feel it within, so go ahead and just spin. Yeah, spin for me. Won't you? I know it's hard for you to give it a try, but you are not alone. I'm here with you. I think you owe it to this beautiful night to lose all your control. Do it for you. Let me show you a place where you gon' wanna move your feet until they start to bleed. DJ, take it away. Tonight is all for you and me. So baby, spin and let the music begin. I know you feel it within, so go ahead and just spin. Yeah, spin for me. Won't you spin? Don't let the doubt in you win. I know you feel it within, so go ahead and just spin. Yeah, spin for me. Won't you? Don't be afraid, just let go of your fears, 'cause you know you can do it, baby. Dance them away. Now you know how it feels. Now you know you can do it, baby. And let the music begin. I know you feel it within, so go ahead and just spin. Yeah, spin for me. Won't you spin? Don't let the doubt in you win. I know you feel it within, so go ahead and just spin. Yeah, spin for me. Won't you? I can't believe that you came into my life. You made me feel again, now it's my turn. You say you've always been a little bit shy, but I can put an end to your fears. Let me show you a place where you gon' wanna move your feet until they start to bleed. DJ, take it away. Tonight is all for you and me. So baby, spin and let the music begin. I know you feel it within, so go ahead and just spin. Yeah, spin for me. Won't you spin? Don't let the doubt in you win. I know you feel it within, so go ahead and just spin. Yeah, spin for me. Won't you? I know it's hard for you to give it a try, but you are not alone. I'm here with you. I think you owe it to this beautiful night to lose all your control. Do it for you. Let me show you a place where you gon' wanna move your feet until they start to bleed. DJ, take it away. Tonight is all for you and me. So baby, spin and let the music begin. I know you feel it within, so go ahead and just spin. Yeah, spin for me. Won't you spin?
Hi everyone, it's Danielle for Brutus Monroe, and I'm going to play with some fun goodies today. I think I have them all gathered that I want to use. I got some embossing powders, alabaster, icicle, which is like the clear embossing powder, gilded, or beautiful metallic gold, embossing ink, probably one of my favorite stamp sets by Brutus Monroe, the Under the Sea. So many fun critters besides the mermaids, and the cardstock of all cardstock, Not Your Mama's cardstock. I use it so much. It's the best ever, and I've used some pretty good ones, I have to say, but nothing beats this one. So I didn't really exactly make up my mind what I wanted to do, so I'm just going to play and see what I like best for the card I have in mind. So I'm using one sheet of Not Your Mama's cardstock, and we're going to try a couple different backgrounds, and then in the end we can see what we like best. So I'm just going to trim this one first at 5.5 inches, and then 4.25. And this one as well. Okay. Now, if you have seen videos of me before, usually I create really short videos and I edit them and do voiceover. I'm gonna try this time, because we're supposed to make a little longer video than my usual 10-minute ones, to just do it like in a live kind of style. I used to do lives for a store, a scrapbooking store before, so I'm not completely new to it. It's been a couple years though, but I got my Brutus Monroe stick and stamp mat, a sheet of Not Your Mama's cardstock, and what I want to do is create an heat embossing resist. And you probably have heard of it before, have seen it before. Mostly they are done with a clear embossing powder. So Brutus Monroe has the icicle embossing powder. And especially if you use a clear embossing powder, you definitely need to do the embossing first before you start inking, so you create that resist effect. If you use a white embossing powder like the alabaster or the gilded one or another color, you kind of could do the same technique with the same effect after you did the inking. You don't really need the resist because the embossing is going to show on top anyway. But just in general, because of the static part of embossing, I like to do my embossing, no matter the color, I like to do it before the inking. So once your background is inked up, you have more of a field of static. It's more likely that your powder is going to stick everywhere. So that's why I'm doing, no matter the color, I'm going to do the embossing first. And what I want to create, this is going to be a shaker card. And in the front of the shaker, I'm going to have, for sure, the mermaid, maybe some other items as well. And then in the shaker card, I want to create an ocean scene with some of the critters. And so they're going to be in the background. And because we're going to heat emboss, they're not going to take over the whole scene. The mermaid is in the front, is going to be the main character. But yeah, I haven't made up my mind yet if I want my card with the icicle embossing powder, or with white, or with gold. So we're just gonna create all three of them, and then at the same time we can also play with different ink colors, because an ocean might be blue. On a card, it can also be pink or yellow or green. Doesn't matter, you can do whatever you want. So at the same time, we're also going to play with some different colors. And I'm just going to put some of those critters here in the background. And let's see how we're going to position them. Also, they can go off the card a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect. Let's see if we have something small. We can use the anglerfish as well. Now, I also have not decided yet if my final card is going to be a frame, like a shaker card frame like this, or if I'm going to do just a circle. A circle window can be fun too. Recently, I've made quite some with the rectangle frame, so maybe we should just go with the circle, and then actually this makes it easier to make up my mind what I want. And then we need to get the critters a little closer to each other so we can see them. I think that's cute. Let's go with that. So I'm very indecisive, but we have made one decision so far. Just in case, I always like to put a magnet on here so that my stick and stamp mat is not going to move. I'm also realizing I do not have my foam mat in here. You need that extra layer with clear stamps. I've been using some cling stamps recently with the stick and stamp mat, so that's why it was not in there. Okay, so we have this positioned. And then I'm going to use my anti-static baggie. This one's from Brutus Monroe. I like to use a lot because I don't like oopsies with the embossing powder. It's quite a lot that comes out of these baggies though, so I always like to go over with a clean brush, blow a little bit. But I like the fact that a lot of powder is coming out because it really helps me preventing the embossing oopsies. I'm gonna put one more magnet up here. So let me move some stuff out of the way here. We do not need this right now. The Brutus Monroe embossing ink. What I love, it's well loved here. What I really love about it is that it stays wet for quite some time, more so than other embossing inks. So you have a little more play time to do your stamping, even if you do one stamp at a time. If you're like creating a big background or something, it gives you a lot of time. You don't have to like powder up and heat set image by image. You can wait quite a while. Actually, it stays wet pretty long. Just inking it up one more time. I think my magnets are getting a little in the way right now. It does start to show up. Also, these three stamps I have not used before, and you can always tell that it takes a little longer to get a good print from a new stamp. It needs a little workout. But we'll get there. Do one more just in case, just to be sure. You can also tell that I'm not really good at cleaning my stamps because on the anglerfish and the dolphin, there's some black ink left. Okay, should be good. Now I'm going to start with the icicle, the clear embossing powder, because that is what you initially do with an emboss resist. So we're just going with that one first. I just like to use a coffee filter to catch the extra powder. There we go. Give it some flicks. And we got a really good impression. Just need to get a little bit of powder off here. Good to go. Okay, let me put this powder back here for now, because I know myself. Somehow it's gonna go fly everywhere at some point if I don't clean it up right away. I spilled a little bit there. That's what we have our vacuum for. And I'm going to heat up my heat tool. I hope you can still hear me, but it's always important to have it heated up for about 30 seconds. Makes it a lot easier to heat emboss. And then I like to start on the back. And then go to the front. I didn't want to talk too much while that thing was making a lot of noise. So with the clear embossing powder, it is actually important that your stamps are very clean. With the white one and the gold one, it's not that big of a deal. But this is going to show in the card. I'm good with it. I'm not going to do it again. I'm just going to leave it as is right now. And now I'm going to grab the next sheet. And we're going to do the same thing, but with alabaster. All good to go. Use my powder. Work it in a bit. Give it a blow. Good to go. So like I said, for the alabaster and gilded, it's not that big of a deal that my stamps are not that clean, because that won't show through. And maybe I am so used to my stamps always being dirty that I'm used to seeing the images that well, you know, with the embossing ink, that I might be trying to overdo it with the images where you cannot see it. And I'm like, oh, I need to ink it up again and again and again. Probably it's perfect already. I'm just so used to seeing those dirty stamp prints. But yeah, there should be plenty of ink on there actually. Now my stick and stamp mat is very loved. That's why it's not that crazy sticky anymore. And that's why I can peel that cardstock off pretty easily. If you're having a new stick and stamp mat, it's very, very, very sticky, which is good. But it helps to just, I can show you in a bit, to just take your mat out of your stamping tool and to fold it backwards, and then your cardstock will come off easily. I just wanted to explain it why you can see mine coming off that easily by just peeling it off. I think we're good. Let's put the powder away. So maybe you noticed some of those like clumps in my embossing powder. That is usually not the case. I decided to live in a very, very humid area. I recently moved and I finally have air conditioning, which is a lot better, but the past 8 years I have not lived with air conditioning, even though it's so hot and humid here. And it has a huge effect on your craft supplies, unfortunately. Okay, I'm gonna start this one again. Okay, good to go. Beautiful. And now we're going to do one more with the gilded embossing powder. The entire process is just the same. But yeah, if you don't know, I live in the Caribbean, which is great for a lot of things, but also not so great for a lot of other things. Just a lot of things don't last as long as I was used to in the normal world. So my paper, my cardstocks get affected by the climate. I feel like sometimes on ink pads it has an effect on it as well. But yeah, something like powders, they get clumpy, like clumps in the, I don't even know if that's the right word. You know what I mean. But I also had pastes, texture pastes, dry out way faster, or even get molded way faster than I'm used to from before. So that's a little unfortunate, but I moved early this month and I have air conditioning now, so everything should be a lot better. My supplies should last longer, which makes me very happy. Okay, just Just because I'm stubborn, I'm doing one more ink up. Okay. Oh, I will show you what I meant. So if your stick and stamp mat is super, super sticky, all you do is you grab the ends and it will come off like this. Super easy. It's not going to ruin your cardstock if your mat is super sticky. Okay. The gilded powder. And the difference in these three colors of embossing powder are going to give a completely different effect on your card, because with the clear one, the critters in the background will just be a very subtle effect to your card, while with the white and the gilded one, they're going to be way more visible. So yeah, we're gonna see what it looks like once I ink these backgrounds up, but it will definitely be different in the end. I have a few more oopsies here than with the others, or maybe with the gilded it's more visible. That's also an option. I think we're good to go. All right. Okay, now we can put this aside for now. So I have the gilded, alabaster, and icicle heat embossed images, and I'm going to ink blend by kind of like color family. Excuse me, I think I need a sip. So for one background, I'm going with salvage patina, peacock feathers, and what are we gonna do? Mermaid Lagoon. Let's start with that one, and I think I'm gonna start with the clear one. And I love to use these. I'm going to start from lighter to dark. And I don't clean brushes either. So all I do is with a flour sack cloth, I just rub my brush on it. I just go with the same color family as long as it's the same type of ink. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going in with salvage patina first here at the top. And now usually when you start to ink blend for a full background, you have, when you use three colors, you go like a third in and another third and another third. But now we're gonna have a circle frame, so we need to keep in mind that we don't even have to cover the entire background, but we need to make sure that we have all three colors showing in that circle frame. So I will grab it in a second to see how far we're going. It's right here. So I'm far enough in now because you need to go a little further to catch up with the next color. But it gives me an idea of, like, based on where the critters are, how far I need to go with each color. Next I'm going with peacock feathers. And overlapping that selfish patina so that they blend nicely. And I'm going a little further down where it's going to catch up with the Mermaid Lagoon. And I'm going back to the selfish patina, so I'm going to wipe up my brush a little because that's a much lighter color. Check again. I think I can go up a little higher with a darker blend here. Okay. And now I'm going to grab my blue brush. I have a light, not really light blue, but this light blue and a really dark blue brush. So it's not like I specifically have a brush for every color. Sometimes I have a different brush for a different tone within that color family. Because let's say if I would have that super dark blue brush and I go in with like tumbled glass, which is really, really light, then I will be cleaning a lot in between, but like properly clean. I am actually starting to change my mind about this one because, as you can see, the lighter part here with the selfish patina, it's really hard to see the heat embossed images. So what I'm going to do is the part where I did selfish patina, I'm going in with peacock feathers. So my lightest color is going to be a lot darker. You can see how those images start to pop up. And with the alabaster and gilded images, you can leave it actually much lighter. With this one, you need to go in a little more heavier handed. Then Mermaid Lagoon is going to be my middle color. Going back and forth between the colors so you get a nice blend. And then we have to go with a darker blue. I think I'm going with Uncharted Mariner. Let's get the peacock out. And I have my darker blue brush. So this change of colors is changing this whole image I had for this card, because it's quite a difference if you go in light-handed or heavy-handed. But this way your images are really gonna pop. Now, this is why I'm so obsessed with Not Your Mama's cardstock, because there's not one cardstock where I get such a smooth, pretty ink blend. I just love this. I'm going up a little higher. There we go. And a little higher up with this darker color. You see how easy that blends on this cardstock? Love it. Good to go. So this one will be ready to use. As you can see here, how my stamp was a little dirty. You can see it on this fish. Not so much on the dolphin, that was not clean either. But also we're gonna have a mermaid on top, so I can cover that if I have to. Then I'm going to do a quick spritz here because we're going to change colors. And then for the next one, I'm going to do, I think I'm going from yellow, yellowish. I like scattered straw, to, I think I'm gonna do just 2 colors, and then in the middle, because I'm using picked raspberry, then in the middle I'll get an orange. And this should be really pretty. I have a label on this ink pad, which is why it's just a little harder to fit it in here. This will be pretty with the gilded embossing powder. Mostly I would use squeezed laminate for my yellow, but that desperately needs some re-inking, so let's not do that. So now I'm going like halfway into my images because I'm only using 2 colors. Let's see if we're halfway. A little further because you need that overlap. Now go into picked raspberry. Oops, my brush is a little dried up. My picked raspberry probably needs a re-ink too because I use that color so much. I might need to go for another color in this case. Let's see how far we got. And then where they meet in the middle, you get an orange tone. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah. We need more orange, so I need to go a little further down with my yellow. Oh, that's pretty. Yeah. Try to get in a little heavier here with the pink. Good to go. What I didn't do with the other one, you can also do that once your inks have dried more, but go over your embossed images so that you take the ink off of it. Oh, that's cute, huh? Now we have the alabaster heat embossed background. And I think I want to do some blue to purple. That would be nice. I'm starting with Mermaid Lagoon, and I'm probably Wilted Violet into Villainous Potion would be a good one. So with this combination, you still have somewhat of ocean colors. But you go a little darker than the other one. And I have a purple brush somewhere. Yeah. Wilted Violet is a pretty medium tone to make that bridge between blue and darker purple. Let's see how we're doing. I could go up a little more with the purple. Okay, and now we can bring in Villainous Potion. Oops. Yep. It's a little too messy here. That's when you start throwing things around. Now for the darker purple, I often use the same brush as I use for the darker blue. Just give it a good wipe on my flower sackcloth. A little more lighter purple in here. Go a little darker here. Okay, good. Now we have those backgrounds done. We can get all this out of the way. Let me just wipe this off. I didn't do a perfect job there on the embossing, but it's okay because it's going to be a shaker card, and there are going to be shaker bits on top of it, so you won't really notice it. Now, actually, we need to make a decision on which one we're going to use. And honestly, I love them all, but I think I'm gonna go with this one, as I really like how the embossing came out as a resist. But I'm gonna keep those, and maybe at another time I'm gonna make cards out of these anyway. I have those backgrounds ready now. So before I started this video, I already stamped, die cut, and colored some images that are gonna go on the front of my card, because I am no coloring expert by any means. And personally, I don't really enjoy watching other people coloring either. That's just a personal preference. I'm also always more about watching fun techniques or picking up different ideas on how to make a card. And there are plenty of people out there who can show you amazing coloring. I don't have any special tricks I can show you. Before we're gonna put the shaker card together, that's gonna be like bulky, and then it's gonna be difficult to stamp a sentiment on your card front. So before we start that, I'm going to stamp the sentiment. I'm using Sending Oceans of Love. I'm using my stick and stamp mat again, and I always use the grit of my Misty to see if it's straight. Now what I really like to do in general is when I have a sentiment, I like to die cut it as well. This stamp set, the die cuts also have the sentiments. It's not just the images. But again, because this is a shaker card, it's going to be bulky enough already, because when I use a die cut sentiment, I use it with foam tape, and then you have another thicker layer that makes your card even bulkier. So my favorite black ink for sentiments is the Raven Detail ink by Brutus Monroe, and it's amazing to use with your colored images as well. So you can use it with your Copic markers or other alcohol markers. I'm also using it recently. I started to color with pencils. Works great as well. So this is your ink for all the things, and I love how crisp and black it is. You can see it in my images here as well. Often these alcohol marker friendly inks are not as crisp black as, oh, yep, hopefully you can see it like that. These are really, really crisp. Always going for a second run, or maybe a third, because I have issues and that's just in my head that I need to do a couple runs. Love how this is a very fine, thin font. So it's not like bright in your face right away anyway as a thicker font, but there we go. This is how I like it. So then we have that part finished for our front, and then we can start putting together our shaker card. So for the window, I'm using the Brutus Monroe heat resistant acetate. It is amazing to do some heat embossing on as well. It doesn't warp as much as other acetates, but here I'm just going to use it for the window of my card. I don't even bother to cut a smaller size of it. I prefer to have it covering my whole panel that goes to the front. And I'm gonna use some glue. Let me grab the next one. This is running empty. I'm not getting too close to that circle window, so that if it's gonna ooze out or in between there, then it's not gonna bother my window right there. If you just use a full panel, it's easier to line it up anyway, instead of messing around with a perfect circle shape. Okay, and while this is drying, I'm going to grab my foam tape, and I have this big roll, and for a shaker card, I like my shaker bits to have enough space to move around, so I always double up on the layer of foam tape. This is just how I find it easiest to do, just lining them up while it's still on the roll. There we go. And I still had one actually from a previous shaker card, and it was from the same roll. I just trimmed it in half, which is going to be perfect to put around here. Just take that protective sheet off one side, and what is important with a shaker card, in case you've never made one, is that you need to have an entirely enclosed area. Now that we only have a circle shaped window, there's no need for the shaker bits to go down to this area, which would mean that you would need more shaker bits than necessary. We only need to cover up this circle area. So I'm going to build a frame with the foam tape just around that window, so that that will keep the shaker bits inside. So just make sure that these pieces are connected where the shaker bits won't fly out. So we're going to line that up here. Now I'm making sure that these two sides are connected. And doing the same here. And then we're going to wiggle a smaller piece in between here. Okay, now that doesn't mean you don't have to put foam tape here. Grab a bigger piece, because if you don't put foam tape there, you don't have the stability that your card needs. So here at the bottom, we're gonna put some more foam tape. It's just not that big of a deal that it's touching any of the other pieces. It's just to give your card the stability it needs. There you go. Okay, now we're going to need our anti-static tool again. I'm just gonna drop some powder in here from the bag, and then I'm going to move it around against that foam tape, because the side of foam tape is often pretty sticky as well. Okay, since we have a lot of powder coming out of that baggie, I am gonna go over it so that my window is still clear enough to see through. For me, this part of the anti-static powder is more so for the foam tape, not so much for the window. I feel like mostly the shaker bits are stuck to the foam tape. These are the Brutus Monroe Blue Sapphire Gems. They're low in stock, I noticed, but at the time of making this video, they're still there, and they are some of my favorites, especially for an ocean scene, because it's a perfect color. Now, especially if you have a pretty background, don't go overboard with the amount of gems you're using. I think there should be maybe just a little bit more, because if you do a lot more, and that's more so even the case if you use sequins, you're not going to see your background anymore. Okay, so now make sure you don't put it upside down. That is something I would do. There's a little trick how I like to line things up, because I'm not the best at eyeballing, honestly. Only on one side of the card am I going to take these liners off. Just like that. Then I'm going to line it up on this side. And because the lining is still on that foam tape, I can still move it around however I want. And once I feel like I have it lined up perfectly, I stick it down on this side. Now you have everything perfectly in place, and you can start taking the other pieces off. I have one left here. So if you're just like me and you're really bad at eyeballing things, this is how you do it. Oops, I am noticing that my glass mat was not clean at all from all the inking. I'm not sure if I really hate it. Maybe we should do something with that. Let me clean my glass mat though. So here's the thing, I did notice this week Tim Holtz came out with the white glass mat. And that is probably what I need, because then I would see where there's ink still left on my glass mat. Oh well, oopsies happen all the time. I don't even hate it, do you? I can live with that. It's some nice blues and purples. Let me see. Let me just get up and see what you guys see. Yeah, I don't hate it. I'm more so loving that window there with the shaker bits. We're just gonna continue. And this is the difference between me making a video where I added and do a voiceover, or where I do it more like a live. You just got to go with the oopsies. And sometimes that's actually even more fun. So I didn't use too many images to create my scene because I didn't want to cover up the background I created. I do want the mermaid to go a little further up. And the coral and the starfish, they're gonna be tucked in here, so they're more so part of the ocean scene. I'm just gonna use some glue to use that. And then you can just tuck it in. Hold it for a second. It needs a little time with the acetate to connect. But you don't need anything special to connect anything to acetate. Most glues are just fine. Just hold it. And you can see it over here now that all the gems are on this side. It's really hard to see the scene behind it. So that is a reason to not use too many gems. Gosh, I'm messy today. Leaving inky fingerprints, leaving ink on my glass mat. But, you know, sometimes the oopsies actually make a nice card. I haven't made up my mind yet if I'm not going to recreate this card at some point, but for now I feel like it's not too bad, like I have to redo this. I'm gonna hold this, and maybe I can come up with something to put even more ink on here. Maybe I should put some blue and purple ink splatters on it. That could be fun too. The only thing is you would have to put a cover, like die cut this circle die again, and then the circle that comes out, just put it right on top here, and then you can do some beautiful splatters. I'm going way over the time I was supposed to use, but you know what? It's fine. I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna show you what I mean. I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab my stuff. I wasn't thinking clearly. I still had the die cut from this one. You don't have to cut a new one. So I'm going to grab the Mermaid Lagoon that I used and some of the Wilted Violet, because I'm pretty sure those are the colors that are on here. Just putting some on my glass mat. Well, here's my apology to Christopher that I'm running over time. I'm sure it's fine. It's all fine. Okay. So I just added some water here. So the only thing I don't have covered here is the mermaid's arm. I might be able to be careful enough to avoid getting splatters on her. Okay. Let's get this somewhat clean. And then we're going with the purple. Need a little bit more water here. So instead of this very clear white card front that I initially had in mind, we're having a colorful one. And nobody will be able to see the oopsies. There we go. I'm pretty happy with how that turned out, actually. Okay. All I need to do is put this on a card base, which I'm pretty bad with in general anyway, so I'm not going to do that in front of the camera. But yeah, you can see through that window that we have those emboss resist images there, and we have our shaker beds. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed watching this come together, and I hope I was able to give you some fun ideas.